Finally, the moment a couple of you have been waiting for.
It's all like bing bong, Jack.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Duval and St. Johns County. The show for Jag fans by Jag fans.
You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.
Here are your hosts, Franklin and Michael how you say it? DeZoba. Welcome to the Jaggernaut Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, kids of all ages, hopefully no kids are watching this. I have a tendency to curse. Welcome back to the Jaggernaut Podcast. I am your host, Michael DeZoba. As always, I got my brother with me, Franklin. Let them know where you're from, where you're repping.
Oh, St. Johns County.
Oh, I thought it was like Duval, like Jacksonville, like Jags, that's
That's
who
what
I'm
saying.
repping. Like, yeah, you're from St. John's, or you're currently in St. John's, but you're repping Jackson, the Jaguars. All right, so for those of you who didn't know, I think most of you know by now that this past weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday was the NFL draft. The Jaguars went in with 12 picks, with 12 selections, came away with 7 picks. We got a fourth rounder next year. We traded 2 picks for that. I think that was a pretty good deal. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 7 guys that we walked away with. Frank, we had the number 1 pick overall. Trayvon Walker was our selection, number 1 overall, out of Georgia. They have him listed as an outside linebacker.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
So we did an episode recently kind of diving in to Trayvon after the first night took place. And, a lot of so if you haven't seen that, go back, you'll get a little bit more in depth about the feelings that, I guess, mainly me. It was kind of like me complaining for the most part. So the thing about Trayvon to me is everybody's sort of covered this, right? It is a projection pick. They're projecting this guy to be based on his abilities or his testing results at the combines, and they're projecting to be this great weapon. So in trying to figure out, so what I basically wanted to do is lay out each player, kind of give a grade. So what do I give Trayvon? I give Trayvon a D. That's I think reasonable for me. And basically the way that I'm looking at it, I'm not trying to beat up anymore on the scenario, but I don't think the guy's in any shape or way going to be a bust for us. But in regards to trying to figure out floor and ceiling for this dude, the comp to me is this. If he becomes who they want him to be, project him to be, my guess is he'll be Myles Garrett. Okay. The difference with that ceiling is that I think Myles Garrett was complete and ready to roll. I don't think Trayvon is. So the best case scenario for him is Myles Garrett, but in about 3 years. So we're going to be getting to the point where we're talking about the 5th year option, to the point where the salary cap is high. So let's just say he becomes the sack machine we hope he is, the all-around great player. He's going to want to be paid by that. My fear is that even though we now see that Baalke was right, this guy's everything Baalke dreamed he would be, then we're going to be maybe in contract disputes with this guy. He might be holding out. We'll be wanting to re-sign him. Who knows, how many years has he done it? Probably like 1.
Right, but you're giving him a D because basically we pick somebody. If first overall, we're going to have to come in here and train.
And that, and the fact that as an investment, from an investment standpoint, we're dealing with a guy who likely his best, we're not going to get those first 2 years of return yet. So we're going to have to wait to get the return. And then that's going to be right up against the wall where he's going to want to get paid.
All right. So you gave him a D.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, I'm going to do a grade for the overall draft, not for the individuals. And then I'll dive in a little bit as to why my grade is what it is. So next up, we actually traded back up into the first round at pick 27. And we selected Devin Lloyd out of Utah, linebacker. Frank, how do you feel about this one?
I love Devin Lloyd. I mean, when I go and look at, and he was a guy that sort of flew under the radar for me when I was sort of trying to get my bearings on players. But in doing first of all, everybody almost is unanimous about this guy in regards to what you see on film. He is a guy that to me will translate. My expectation for him is that he's going to be a guy we could plug in one of the linebacker spots and we're not going to miss a beat. I mean, I fully expect this guy to be, we'll be looking at wanting to keep this guy around for a long time. He's going to play. I looking at his film, and the guy, like when he, the Duval, all that stuff just adds to it, but his film is great. I mean, he's everything that you'd want him to be. So it's an A player. I'm rating him a B. And the reason why I'm doing that is because we had to trade up and get rid of a pick in order to get up to get him. And it's not anything to do with him specifically. It's more a grade in regards to the Jag. So his value where he was, you have to incorporate this cost that it took to get back up in the first round. So now we became a team where we drafted 2 players in the first round. And just to give you a comparative analysis. So if I said to you, we had 2 first-round picks and we drafted Aiden Hutchinson and traded back into up to get Jameson Williams, how would you feel? I think everybody would be ecstatic about that. That's what Detroit did. So to me, what we did in comparative to what Detroit did, and we were in very similar situations. So I think that weighs on this a bit. So like some of the teams that had double selections in the first round, like the Jets got Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. I think that's better than what we did. The Giants did Thibodeau and Evan Neal. The Saints did Chris Olave and Trevor Penning. It's a little bit more around our level, but even I think that's better. Philly did.
No way. I'll argue that all day. So I'll give you the first 3 that you named. Okay. Giants are borderline. No offense, but they're borderline. Me and you didn't even like Thibodeau coming in, at least not at number 1. Right. And then Evan Neal had medical about him. Right. So they all, and most of those teams, not counting New Orleans, already had their 2 picks, and they were already fairly high 2 picks. The Detroit, okay, I'll give you Detroit because I thought that was a hell of a move. I thought they ended up with a good draft. I thought the Jets coming back in to the round, I thought that was a good draft. So I'll give you those 2, right? But then I think we're somewhere in there. Maybe right behind them, if you will. I like Devin Lloyd. I actually like the combo. Yes, we may have to wait to see the fruits of these 2, but I like this combo. I like having Lloyd as the middle linebacker. I like having Trayvon Walker as the outside linebacker. And I like having Roy Robinson Harris or Dwayne Smoot right there as the big end. I sort of like that little triangle of guys there. If they bring it, they bring it, I mean, and I sort of like that, but that's where I'll interject. I really do like the Lloyd. I think the guy is smart. I love the fact that when he got a first time on the microphone, he gave us a huge ass Duval.
Yeah.
That got me going. I mean, that's how you pump up this fan base.
Yeah, that guy's
now all we ask, just make plays. Just like make plays. That's all we're asking.
And that's what I'm saying from a player standpoint. you look at this guy, I don't expect this guy not to make plays. So whatever.
And I get it, and I get it. I'm just saying now, his next thing I would like to see him do is out there making some plays. We know you're going to miss some plays, but just be consistent. Be consistent. Make decent plays. Let us know who you are. All right, so that's we had no pick in the second round because we traded it to get back up, which might have hurt us. Who knows? So now we moved on to basically third round. We have 2 picks in the third round. So at the 65th, we pick offensive line. He's a center guard. I don't know why they do this, but offensive lineman, center guard, Luke Faulkner.
Yeah. I gave him an A. After looking into him, and who knows anything about college offensive linemen, right? But I watched. So what I did was I went back and I looked at the game where Kentucky played Georgia. So I thought, okay, Georgia's the greatest college defense of all time. So great that one of the greatest prospects ever couldn't really establish himself. So that's how great this defense was. So I thought, what better measuring stick to see this center? And I came away really impressed by the guy. He appears to be a little larger than a center tends to be. I think I tend to think of the center be a little smaller, but I don't know. He's a big, powerful guy. If there's a weakness to his game, what I saw was essentially when he gets to the second level, he tends sometimes to take bad angles. So he'll miss some blocks when he gets to this, to the second level. But as far as like stoutness, strength, there was a couple of plays where Georgia got by him a little bit. But for the most part, I mean, you're talking about some really powerful guys that are coming straight at him. And when they got penetration with Kentucky, it was not him. It was usually somebody around him. I felt like I feel like that guy is going, and I like Shatley. So this guy, depends on how they want to use this dude.
Oh, this guy probably should be a guard.
Bare minimum.
Keep Shatley at center. Yep. Keep Shatley at center. You use this guy as a guard. Yep. Let the tackles fight it out for the 2 starters, left and right. Who cares? And then we have the guard that we picked up, Sheriff.
Yeah.
As the other starter. So to me, you take those 3 guys are your starting interior, and then you let your tackles fight it out. I know you just paid Cam Robinson, so he's probably left tackle.
Yeah, right.
But maybe you open up the competition at right tackle and say, Walker Little or who's the other guy?
Jawan Taylor.
Yeah, because Jawan Taylor hasn't been playing well.
No, he's kind of sucked.
Yeah. So open up that competition and say the best man takes it.
And I'm almost of the mindset, and I'm fine with that. You got Shatley at center, Fortner at guard, and then whoever wins walk out of Little and Taylor. I'm almost of the mindset, though. I'm halfway expecting that Little will win the right tackle job, and that you take Taylor and move him to guard, and then
a backup guard, maybe, yeah.
And that could be true too. But I think Taylor, the issues that I see with him don't have to do with power. It's really about finesse and technique, probably footwork. And I'm not an offensive line expert, but it appears to be pass blocking his issue. So you slide him inside. I think he could be an excellent guard. So if you had Fortner, that sounds like on paper a really stout offensive line. All of a sudden,
it seems like everything that has to do with the Jaguars in 2022 potential. Seems like it's potential.
True.
All right. So then we come in, we're still in the third round. We got one more pick left. It's at pick number 70, 5 picks later. And we come right back at you with another middle linebacker.
Yeah.
Chad Uma.
So this guy here, again, I have to separate the Jaguars grade in picking this guy versus the guy himself, the player. I think this guy is a good linebacker. I think PFF has him rated very similarly to Devin Lloyd.
I saw
didn't
that
s-
post. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that myself.
Like on his tape.
Yeah,
Or on his highlights.
close. He's close. I would say he isn't as good at diagnosing the offense play. He's very good at reacting. He's very fast and powerful when he gets to the point of it. I mean, I like the idea of this guy being a run, like sticking his head in the pile, and he's a great selection. But in the concept of this guy coming in now, where's he going to play? And this is the issue for me. When we're a bad team, I don't think our roster's as bad as the record was last year, but we need.
I think it was. I mean, I think it is. I think it's horrible,
okay, so then you
but-
should agree with this. Then what we need people who are going to be on the field. I have a hard time seeing. Now, this could be one of the scenarios. People go need versus best available player. Okay. If this was BAP, and it very likely could have been, where he was drafted was value, but I don't feel like it was value for us. And so for me, even though I feel like he is a good player, I think we took him after taking Lloyd, and we could have used a receiver. I really wanted us to try to find a way to help Trevor Lawrence. You just talked about how this triangle and stuff when it came to Walker and Lloyd.
Yeah.
I bet you didn't have Muma in your imagination. So
I did not. I did not. But if Lloyd gets hurt, you have Uma. If the other guy from Atlanta gets hurt, you have Shaq Quarterman. I mean, in the meantime, Uma's a special teams guy. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
We are only as good as our record. Our record was shit, which means we're shit. We could use good players. And instead we go out and we get a backup special team. Strike on Balky. So I'm going to leave that one at that. I'll touch on that later when we come back around to it.
Okay.
But yes, I completely agree. That one's a complete strike on Balky. I will say this, though. In the fourth round.
So I gave it a C. You're even more negative?
I'll get to mine. I'm doing mine a little bit different format than yours.
All right.
But I will say this, if you're willing to take a receiver that late in the draft, and it's not really all that late, but it's toward the middle of the third round, you know that there most likely are going to be potential issues where you have to let them acclimate to the NFL. How many, 1 year, 2 years? We used to have a saying, remember the old saying? It was 3 years before a receiver broke out. Right. So it's okay for a receiver to draft a receiver there, but not Walker. And I agree only because of where we're drafting Walker. I'm a huge proponent of, if I'm drafting you in the first round, that means less I got to teach your ass. That means you step in, you play day one. I don't care if you're a quarterback. I don't care if you're a receiver. I don't care. If you're in college, understand this. If you're going to get drafted in the first round, you need to step in and show up. That means be on the field and make plays day one. That's what makes you a first round. So anyway, that's why I want to give them some benefit of the doubt. But we're the Jags. We suck. I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt because guess what? I've already given you my money in the past, and I feel like you used me. So I'm not doing that. All right, so we're moving on. Round 5. We had no pick in round 4.
Yeah.
So round 5. Pick number 154, we get a running back, Snoop Connor, Ole Miss.
Yeah. So I gave this selection a D, and part of it is the player. Part of it is the scenario. Again, it more heavily weighs toward the Jags and what the decision-making process. First of all, we traded up to get this guy.
That's
it was
correct.
a need. It was a need. And so I get it in that respect. We don't know when Robinson is coming back. And I don't anticipate using Travis Etienne, especially on coming back from his injury, as this workhorse back where, he's the only one, out there except for a spell here or there. So we do need another running back. And I like the idea of this helping cushion Robinson back. I love Robinson. James Robinson, I think, is an underrated running back. And so I like that aspect of it. This guy, that as a player, Snoop Connor, to me, he looks faster than Robinson. It remains to be seen about his vision and things of this nature. That you can't really. Well, here's something about the guy that jumped out at me. The system that he was in was awkward to me. It was quarterback focused. Matt Corral was like runner and thrower, and right. I don't feel he was good at either.
RPOs, yo.
And I feel like he was probably a better running back than you actually got to see. It's almost like Trayvon Walker, honestly. I felt like that. I think he's probably a good player, but the sample size isn't great. And you had to trade up to get this guy. So that's another thing. It's, if you needed a running back, I'd like to go back, I guess, a little bit and figure out who was there when we drafted Chad Muma. Maybe that was a better selection. I don't know,
and that would be my only argument. For this pick, I'm okay with it because you're right. It is a need. We definitely need. Now, here's what I do like about it. He's bigger than both James Robinson and ETN. So even if all three of them are there might be a small niche role for him in short yardage, especially if we can put together put a fullback out there every once in a while. That might not be so bad. He might be a fairly decent short yardage back. So and we got him in the 5th round, and that's where you start to take these kind of guys. So him overall, the pick overall, I'm not too bad. Where we picked him, I'm not too upset about. But I agree. Maybe we should have looked at it before we took Muma and said, well, who's around here? Because I think there might have been a better back, and like an all-around back there at that time, or even a bigger back. Yeah, who knows? All right, so pick round 6, pick number 197. We go cornerback, Gregory Jr.
Yeah.
Give me your take.
It's hard to really hone in on this guy because there's not a lot of footage available.
Small school.
He didn't even get invited to the combine. Yep. It's hard to give this a great score. The word is he's got skills. I've got no issues with taking small school guys.
He's got traits. This is how we like traits, buddy.
Yeah,
this is trait driven.
Yeah, well, 6th round. Yeah, that's
not a bad time to do it.
No, it's not. It's just so it's sort of like I can't go positive or negative, so I aim C. I thought it was a C pick, and we'll see. It's not 50-50 basically.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have at this point, it's 6th round, right? You're rolling the dice. This is where you draft for traits. This one, you're like, oh my God, this guy's 6'6". He runs a 4.2. He can out jump everybody. Let's grab him as a receiver and we'll see what happens. This is where I think you definitely draft. You don't need a ton of tape. You want to see him. You want to see him out playing the competition, even if it's a small school. That's what you want to see. But again, come in, maybe potentially give you something on special teams.
Yeah, let me say this since we're on traits. I kind of meant to say this earlier when I was looking at the Luke Fortner tape. I did say that I looked at him against Georgia, so it was hard not to peek at what Trayvon Walker was doing, and we talked about, well, what defense did they do that hid this guy? And if you watch it, you sort of understand a little bit about what people are saying. There were times where he was not even on the field. So I'm guessing that Georgia runs quite
a heavy rotation, right?
Defensive line. that's very common in the NFL. I'm not quite sure how common it is in the pros, but you see the power. That's one thing about Trayvon. He's very powerful. Like you see him, nobody's really pushing this guy around. But he's kind of stiff still. I still see, and they moved him all around. So it was like, you kind of get this idea, like he doesn't know defensive end. And then when he was there was no pass rush. It was basically, he was manning up on his guy. That's not what I want to see, but I did see the traits. So, and I saw how they might be hidden in that particular defense. So we'll see what happens when he gets to the pros and he gets to focus on pass rushing.
All right. So last pick of the night, round 7 pick number 222. It was Monteric Brown, cornerback, Arkansas. Now they have it as a DB, and I hate when they do this, just like the offensive line, the O line. Go ahead and give me your grade on this guy.
I gave this guy a B. I like what I saw out of this guy. And I also think that my understanding is their intentions are to move this guy to safety.
Potentially, possibly. Yeah. Or big nickel.
He has skills. He seems like he's very physical. And he has ball skills. He attacks the ball. So I could see this guy being a safety. My understanding is he came to Arkansas, I think, as a safety. And they shipped him to corner, which he played very well at. So I like that idea. So I gave it a B.
Yeah, so I'm good with this too, and I agree. I heard that they may look at him at safety. Honestly, I hate to say this, anybody's competition for Wingard, right? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Not that I dislike Dewey as a guy or as a human, but there are times where I think he's just too slow to play in the modern NFL that we need. I love his heart. But anybody we got, plus this guy could maybe play big nickel, match him up maybe on a tight end or something if you're going against a team that has a prominent tight end, something like that.
Yeah.
So they may be able to find some place for him. But again, he's here. So we'll at least, practice squad at worst. And if he does well on special teams, he'll be able to get in there. Then he's just an injury away from stepping up and showing out. And that's really what it is for these back end guys. All right. So that is all of our draft picks. That's all 7 of them. Frank, that is what you thought about them. I said what I thought pretty much about them. So now I'm going to give my overall draft grade. My overall draft grade is essentially a C. Here's why. Travon Walker. Every year, we believe that we know more than the national pundits. Come to find out, the national pundits, while they're not always right, they have a better track record than we do. Gene Smith has been wrong. Who was the guy before Gene Smith?
Shaq.
Shaq Harris. Gene Smith. Dave Caldwell, all of them thought that they knew better. And if you don't believe me, ask me why I think that. I'll put the player, where we drafted him, in the comments, and you could tell me who they drafted and who was drafted better.
Yeah.
At the same time, I can tell you, I can go back and research it and tell you who nationally they were saying, oh, this is who Jack should take. And if we would have just taken what the national people had said, we would have been much better off. We would be much better off now. So while I think that Walker has a chance, and I really want to see him as just an outside linebacker. Dude, get in there like a damn wrecking ball. Man, every time you lay a sack, they should play like Miley Cyrus. I came in like a wrecking ball. It's goofy, but it's funny as hell. It would be. It would be funny as hell. So that should be your jam. And I want to hear it in the stadium all the time. However, again, the national pundits said we should have got Hutchinson. I think if we get Hutchinson and we get Lloyd, you're looking at a B plus, A minus draft already. Like already. We didn't do that. We said, nope, we're smarter than you. The Jags front office and ownership has never been smarter. Never. So therefore, I'm saying we're not, and he's going to be a decent run stopper. I'm going to put him right in the middle of the road and say we used a first round draft pick on a decent run stopper. Because that's really what he sort of looks like.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it's a C. Not only am I going to say it's a C, I'm going to say it's a C also because we gave away draft capital we potentially could have used. We could have used that second round draft pick. We could have used when we came up from Mumba. We could have used those draft picks. There were other running backs sitting there. There were other receivers. We talked all offseason about getting Trevor Lawrence help. We got him help in free agency. And for that, I can sort of understand it. And again, I'm like, man, I sort of agree. You go out and you get you some veterans because you don't have to train them because they already understand the way the NFL works. So you go out and you get you 1-2 good guys on their second contracts. You bring them in, you pay them well, and then there you go. There's your receiving core. And I can understand that. But this is Jacksonville, and this is where stuff that should work someplace else fails. So I would have loved to have gotten Trevor Lawrence a tight end. I would have loved to got him a receiver.
There were mobs that did that.
I would have loved to have got him help. Even if we traded back in to get another guard or another tackle or another center. What if we didn't get Lloyd, but we traded back in for Tyler Linderbaum? You know, you take Hutchinson and Linderbaum, I'd give you an A.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the Ravens, Kyle Hamilton and Linderbaum. So one of the things that I kind of came away with when you compared the Jags to other teams that drafted 2 players in the first round was majority of those teams, apart from Kansas City, who already have a great offense, used at least one of those picks on an offensive player, and we could use an offensive player.
Yep. Now, don't get me wrong. I really do like the guy we came up for. I really do. Yeah. And I wish that dude is a thumper. He comes in and he starts blowing up the NFL. Yeah. Whether Walker does his shit or not, I don't care. But this dude, I as soon as he started yelling Duval in that microphone, I was like, yes, boom, that's our dude. Yeah. You know, so he endeared himself to me. So I can't wait to see him play. Walker, I think Walker is a decent dude from the interviews that I've seen. So I don't want him to, plus he's a Jag, so I don't want him to fail. But for me, it is a C overall.
It's too big to fail.
Now, potentially, here's why I'm putting it at a C. Because if Walker fails and we missed on somebody later on, what if Mumba isn't very good as an NFL guy? We traded draft capital. We missed an extra running back who maybe we could have used, or a guard or a center. You know, if the way the draft shook out is it has the potential to get worse. I'm going to put you at a C because you could definitely go to an F. I can see this going straight to hell. We'll come away with one guy, maybe Lloyd, and maybe that 7th rounder. And then that's it. Or I can see it going to an A. And Walker plays very well. He's better than just an average run stuffer. He actually does make noise. Lloyd is there.
If this turns us back into Saxonville, it'll be an A. It'll turn into an A.
You know, so
and Balky will be a genius.
Because we have a good defense, that helps Trevor.
Yeah.
Okay. So I get that, but I'm not giving you an A until you earn it, and I'm not going to give you an F till you earn it. I'm going to put you right where you belong, right at a C.
Well, when I did all those individuals and I kind of averaged them out, it came to a low C. So you have it right.
Yeah.
If I have it right, I mean, we did it 2 different ways, basically, came to the same conclusion.
Same conclusion. Yeah. So that's what they get. That's what they've earned to see.
Yep.
So, and now I just get to sit back. Now it's going to be a long off season. we got to go till what, late July.
Yeah.
Although it is nice we get the Hall of Fame game this year, so we'll be a week early. Maybe
Yep.
we get to see more of those rookies.
That's a good point. Yeah. So let's go ahead and call it here. We went through the first round, so hope you guys maybe learned something new. I always do when I listen to people. So
Hey, if not, by all means, leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. We're open. We're not always
Thumbs up.
right. Yeah.
share.
Yeah. Give us a like, share, whatever.
Yep. All right. Till next
right.
time. See
Bye,
you guys.
guys. Duval.
Oh!